BestBookBits.com presents The Book of Joy by the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu and Douglas Carlton Abrams. Two spiritual giants, 5 days, one timeless question. Nobel Peace Prize laureates His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu have survived more than 50 years of exile and the soul-crushing violence of oppression. Despite their hardships, or as they would say, because of them, they are two of the most joyful people on the planet. In April 2015, Archbishop Tutu travelled to Dalai Lama's home in Dharamshala, India, to celebrate His Holiness' 80th birthday and to create what they hope would be a gift for others. They look back on their long lives to answer a single burning question: how do we find joy in the face of life's inevitable suffering? They traded intimate stories, teased each other continually, and shared their spiritual practices. By the end of the week, filled with laughter and punctured with tears, these two global heroes had shared into the abyss and despair of our time and revealed how to live a life brimming with joy. This book offers us a rare opportunity to experience their astonishing and unprecedented week together, from the first embrace to the final goodbye. We get to listen as they explore the nature of true joy and confront each of the obstacles of joy, from fear, stress, and anger to grief, illness, and death. They then offer us the 8 pillars of joy, which provide the foundation for lasting happiness. Throughout, they include stories, wisdom, and science. Finally, they share their daily joy practices that anchor their own emotional and spiritual lives. The Archbishop has never claimed sainthood, and the Dalai Lama considers himself a simple monk. In this unique collaboration, they offer us the reflection of real lives filled with pain and turmoil, in the midst of which they have been able to discover a level of peace, of courage, and of joy to which we can all aspire in our own lives. The written and audio summary can be found on our website, bestbookbits.com. So without further ado, I bring the book summary of The Book of Joy. About the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu. The 14th Dalai Lama is the spiritual leader of the Tibetan people and a Nobel Peace Prize recipient. He was born in 1935 as Lamu Thunup and renamed 4 years later as Jensen Jampang Nawang Lobsang Jitsin Tinsan Gatsu, or Tenzin Gatsu for short. He became Tibetan's leader in 1950 and received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1989. The current Dalai Lama is widely beloved and consulted on various questions. Desmond Tutu is a South African Anglican cleric, the Archbishop Empress of Cape Town, a civil rights activist, and a Nobel Peace Prize recipient. He was the first black man to become the Bishop of Johannesburg, as well as the first black Archbishop of Cape Town. Before that, he was one of the fiercest critics of South African racist policies, and together with Nelson Mandela, the most prominent anti-apartheid activist. He won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1984, 5 years before the Dalai Lama. In April 2015, South African human rights activist, the most revered Desmond Tutu, travelled to Dharamshala, India. His goal, to visit Tenzin Gyatso, the 14th Dalai Lama, and celebrate with him through a few months early his 80th birthday. Now, Tutu isn't a young man himself, 4 years older than the Dalai Lama. He was 84 at the time of the visit, and at one point during their week-long conversation in Dharamshala, he even makes jokes about this. "You must shorten your answers," he says to Dalai Lama, who claims that they have plenty of time. "I am brief." It's painful to think about it. Unless someone ends aging fast, both of them, these two spiritual giants of the 20th century, will probably not be among us for long. Now, we don't really know what Tutu gave the Dalai Lama for his 80th birthday. Fortunately, we do know that they both gave afterward the Book of Joy, a kind of structured transcript of their discussions in Dharamshala, and one of the most beautiful joint efforts to discover the nature of joy, the obstacles which stand before us to attain it, and the pillars upon which it is founded. Expectantly, we didn't hesitate for a second to include it in our list of best mindfulness books in history. And actually, that's where the book starts, with a bittersweet discussion about the roots of its absence, namely mindfulness' greatest nemesis, the obstacles of joy. Shut your eyes a bit. We're going to list a few words you dread: fear, stress, anxiety, feeling nervous, frustration and anger. Do you want to shout out loud? Sadness and grief, despair and loneliness, Oh, how bad do you want to hug someone right now? Envy. That guy goes past yet again in his Mercedes-Benz. Death. And you say, this is the book of joy, huh? Really? That's right, you know them well, some of them very well. They are the things which make you suffer on a daily basis. However, and this is the key takeaway from the book of joy, Tutu and Dalai Lama claim that despite its dark side, suffering, although constant, is essential to life. As the authors themselves say, nothing beautiful comes without some suffering. Why? Because it allows you to experience the positive moments more profoundly. In fact, if you know how to use pain the proper way, it can become a constructive force. And to experience suffering the proper way, you need to shift your focus from yourself to others. Observing yourself according to the Long Zhong, the Buddhist mind training practice, will only cause sadness. What you need in life is to build up a mental immunity. If you do it, you will still feel pain, but you will recover far easier. But how to build up such immunity? Well, the first step is understanding the nature of fear and frustration. You need to understand that fears are not rooted in reality. Fears are not rooted in reality. They are the facets of your mind. When you do understand this, you will also comprehend that by shifting your perspective, you can find joy in any situation. Most of the time, you will face events that you cannot change. Thinking about them and letting frustration build up will only do you harm. The only way you can control is your own reaction. So what you should do is to accept the situation and use it as an opportunity to grow and master the art of patience. Yes, we understand that this is easier said than done, but it is possible to let go of stress. Because the basis of most stress is fear. The basis of most stress is fear. Fear of failure, of not getting what you want, of disrespect, or of others not loving you. Fear, if you leave it unattended, can evolve into anger and then decrease the quality of your life. Control it before it's too late. If you want to lead a better life, you need to cultivate happiness. And you can do this by building up a strong foundation, the one made of 8 pillars of joy: perspective, humility, humor, acceptance, forgiveness, gratitude, compassion, and generosity. Number 1, perspective means that there are many different angles to look at a thing. Taking a pause and looking at a problem a bit more open-mindedly may make you happier than you ever thought possible. Number 2, humility. Be humble and modest. As John C. Maxwell says wittingly, people with humility don't think less of themselves. They think of themselves less. Number 3 is humor. Joking is always better than not joking, even if it means joking with your own faults. You are certainly not perfect, and that lifts a huge burden off your shoulders. Think about it. Number 4, acceptance. This is where the change actually happens. More often than not, you can't change reality, but you can change your attitude towards it. And number 5 is forgiveness. If you want to live in the present, forgiveness is your best shot at freeing yourself from the past. You're doing everybody a favor. And number 6, gratitude. Be thankful for everything, starting with the very fact you're alive. 7, compassion. Trying to understand everybody. Stop comparing yourself to those more fortunate than you. Compare yourself to those who have less. We're told you before, the very fact you're able to read this article means that you're more fortunate than about 4 billion people. And number 8, generosity. Now that you understand the pain of others, be generous to them. Always offer them what you receive, and in a way, you'll actually receive the most. Key lessons from the Book of Joy. Number 1, the nature of joy. Number 2, the obstacles to joy. And 3, the 8 pillars of joy. The nature of joy. Most people would define joy along these lines. It is the absence of suffering. However, Tutu and the Dalai Lama think otherwise. They say that joy is what happens when you understand suffering. It's all in your mind. You can think of suffering as something which hinders happiness, but if so, be prepared to be unhappy, because suffering is inevitable. If you can't change it, why should you maximize its effects by worrying about it? Somehow we think the opposite is the only thing that makes sense. The obstacles to joy. There are many things which may stand on your way to true joy. Fear, stress and anxiety, almost on a daily basis. Frustration and anger, every time someone does something you don't like, sadness and grief, despair and loneliness, feelings which will inevitably come with some great loss, envy, which makes you want more when you don't really need it. Adversity, illness, fear of death, you can't stop them, can you? The 8 pillars of joy. You should build your joy upon 8 pillars: perspective, humility, humor, acceptance, forgiveness, gratitude, compassion, and generosity. So from now on, try to look at things from a different angle. Be humble and laugh out loud when someone's making a joke about your faults. Accept reality when you can't change it, and forgive those who harm you. Be grateful for what you have and feel compassionate with those who have less. And be generous to them. It's them who need some help to be happy. You already are. And that's a wrap on the Book of Joy. Subscribe to the channel and take a look at the hundreds of book summaries uploaded previously. To find hundreds of written summaries, check out our website, bestbookbits.com. And for hundreds of audio summaries, find us on mixcloud.com/bestbookbits. If you want to help and be a contributor, get involved in the channel by reading a book, writing a summary, and emailing us at info@bestbookbits.com to have it featured. Thanks for watching and listening, and have yourself an amazing day. Take care.